Hi guys, and welcome to 5-Minute Book Reviews. Today I'm going to be talking about The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And this story picks up with the four Pevensy's children where they're staying at a manor house in the English countryside. While they're there, Lucy discovers a portal to the magical world of Narnia. And she's the youngest child, and she goes in, and then she comes back to the so-called real world, and there she tells her siblings. Their siblings are initially skeptical, but Edmund, who is the second youngest, goes into the wardrobe, and there he meets the main antagonist of the story, who is the White Witch. She gives him a dessert, and he gorges himself on it, and he wants more, so he promises to bring his siblings back to the world of Narnia. That is really a pretense on the witch's part because she really wants to kill the children because they could claim the thrones of Narnia, which she has usurped for herself. And Edmund goes back to this side of the wardrobe and then takes his siblings back into the wardrobe, and they all end up in Narnia. Now, the three children, other than Edmund, go to find Aslan with the help of the beavers, but Edmund leaves them and goes to find the White Witch. And Aslan, who is the kind of Christ-like figure in this story, is returning to Narnia, and Narnia up to this point has been locked into an eternal winter, and as he returns, the world starts to come back to life as a new spring. Now, the three children that didn't go to see the witch meet up with Aslan, and then the witch brings Edmund to Aslan, and he has become the betrayer or the traitor. And the witch has a meeting with Aslan, and there the lion, Aslan, agrees to sacrifice himself on Edmund's behalf. And then later he goes at night and the witch kills him. And then he resurrects the next morning. And as part of that resurrection process, he goes to the witch's castle and he frees many of the statues that are there from being encased in stone. And then they go to help the two boys of the Pevensey children who are fighting a battle with the witch and are losing badly, and they were able to win the battle, and the children are installed as the kings and queens of Narnia. There's a lot to love about this book. It's really just a retelling of the Christ story, and where you have a Christ-like figure in the person of Aslan who ends up dying for another because of their sin. Edmund's betrayal is ultimately what results in Aslan sacrificing himself for Edmund. And through all this, Edmund comes to grips with his betrayal and kind of the pettiness of everything that he was dealing with. Edmund is not the only restoration that goes on, though, because whenever the children go into the portal into Narnia, they find it locked in an eternal winter, but with the coming of Aslan, they see a new spring. In a way, it's almost a recreation of the land of Narnia, where everything kind of comes back to life. And another type of redemption that happens is whenever Aslan and some of the children go to the White Witch's palace, they see a lot of prisoners there, and they are encapsulated in stone, and Aslan is able to free them after his resurrection from being stone statues. Related to those themes of redemption, we also see things about the love that Aslan has for the children and the children have for Aslan. So the whole story is really kind of built around that idea of restoration, of redemption, of forgiveness, and ultimately the coordination of the way things are supposed to be rather than the way things were. So let's go ahead and score this book. The main drawback of this book is I think that some of the characters really lack development, mainly three of the main protagonists. Edmund gets a great story arc through his redemption arc, but the other three characters are fairly one-dimensional in that respect, so that I give this a 3 in the department of character development. Thematic development, on the other hand, I think is very strong. We see a strong redemption arc in Edmund as the restoration of the world of Narnia with the return of Aslan, so I think that this gets a 5 in thematic development. Plot development, I think, is good. I don't think it's the best it could have been. Because this is a thinly veiled retelling of the Christ story, I think that makes it a little bit predictable what's going to happen to Aslan after he sacrifices himself, which is a major plot point in the story. So I think that makes it a little bit on the nose whenever you see that happen. Regardless, though, I think it's a well-done plot. It's evenly paced, and there's a lot of strong aspects about the plot that I think really make this a good story. The conflict of the story is phenomenal. The internal conflict that we see in Edmund is spot on. There's conflict early in the story between the siblings whenever they're discussing the reality of this alternate world of Narnia. Also the good and evil that you see in the antagonist and the protagonist. There's a lot of good conflict at multiple levels in the story, and I think it gets a 5 for that reason. The setting is phenomenal. Narnia is a beautifully done world. I think C.S. Lewis does a great job of creating the world and then also filling that world with talking animals that have their own personalities and traits and various things like that. You see the world serve the plot as well as the development of the story through the themes, through the restoration of Narnia when Aslan returns. So I give that a 5. Readability in this book is phenomenal. It's not just a children's book, even though it's primarily written for children. I think it can speak to adults because it is thematically rich. So I give the readability of this book a 5. Entertainment value of this is also very high because I think it does a great job of telling a story. It does a great job of building conflict and doing some character development where it's done, as well as developing a theme. And because of that, it really makes a good story that is entertaining as well. So total score is a 32 out of a possible 35. So I think that this is a phenomenal book. I would recommend it to anybody that's looking for a good read. If they just want to read a quick book or a novel, if they want something to read to their children, this is a fantastic book. I think it will live well beyond my lifetime and will be a classic for generations to come.